Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So obviously with Ash and Pikachu's journey coming to an end, I wanted to do a top 5 Pokemon games. So without further ado, let's take a look at what is in my top 5. I know this list is going to be a bit controversial. I'm sure I'll get lots of comments about why is this not in it, why is this not in it. But these are just my top 5 Pokemon games, and we're starting off with Pokemon Scarlet. So I know the game was spoiled by some performance issues, but you can't take away how much this game has moved the franchise forward. Something that I did talk about in the review was just how good the story is for this game. So I think if they'd released this game with all of the performance issues and they had a terrible story, I think this would have gone down as one of the worst games, one of the worst releases in Pokemon history. But the story was so good in my opinion that it absolutely saved this game, and probably one of my favourite storylines since Pokemon Yellow. So it's our first experience of a fully open world Pokemon game, and I did like it, but it still needs a few tweaks, such as the Pokemon leveling up system. So obviously certain areas are overrun, or there's certain Pokemon in certain areas that go up to say level 20 in one area, level 30 in another, and so on and so forth. But some of these areas, as you move through the game, they become pretty pointless because I don't really want to go back and face a load of level 20 Pokemon, it's boring. So they do need to obviously work out a better leveling up system for an open world Pokemon game, but I do feel like Scarlet definitely added life back to what I felt was becoming a slightly stagnant game series. So this is my number 5 Pokemon game. Moving on then to number 4, the DS was such a brilliant console, and with it came Pokemon Pearl. Wireless features meant we no longer had to carry out transfer cables with us, and we could easily battle or trade with friends now because of the capabilities of the DS. This is now the 4th generation of Pokemon, and it was released in Europe in 2007, and actually it went on to be one of the best sellers of the Pokemon franchise. And I did really truly love Pokemon Pearl, but I think what you do have to actually look at is if it wasn't for how well the DS sold itself, and it wasn't for all of those great features of the DS, would this game have been as good? I'm not sure, but I certainly did love it, and I guess I loved the DS as well. Another great feature of Pearl was because the DS had that Game Boy Advance slot, it meant that you could send Pokemon to Pearl from Ruby or Sapphire by using that Game Boy Advance slot. So again, great technology, but also Nintendo have taken all of that awesome features of the DS and just used it to make an incredible Pokemon game. I did really quickly just want to talk about the remake, which came out on the Switch in 2021. And I just wanted to say from a personal point of view, I absolutely loved the updated art style, and I think obviously it didn't necessarily improve the game, but I just wanted to say how much I absolutely loved that updated art style. But at number 4 is Pokemon Pearl. Number 3 then, and we have Pokemon Y. So released worldwide in October 2013. And not only was this the first game released worldwide for Nintendo, but also the first 3D Pokemon game as well. Pokemon Y was also the first time we were able to fully customize our characters, which was a huge step forward for the Pokemon franchise. The game also introduced us to Mega Evolutions, and this allowed us to use those Mega Stones to temporarily evolve into a Mega form during battle. With the new power of the 3DS, we also have Sky Battles, which involve battles with airborne Pokemon, and Horde Encounters, which added the large 1 versus 5 battles which increased the difficulty of the game and the battles. The online trading and battling was much improved on the 3DS. Now, we had fixed some of the issues that came from the DS online system, and I must say, personally, I absolutely loved the use of the joystick to go into the rollerblades and then the D-pad to go into walking. I just loved how smooth that transition was, something that I really enjoyed during the game. And that's number 3 then. Pokemon Y is my number 3 choice. In at number 2 then, we have Pokemon Yellow. So Yellow didn't actually release in the EU till June 2000. Now this was my first experience of playing Pokemon, having collected the cards for quite a while before this. And not only was this my first game of Pokemon, but it was actually my first ever RPG as well. Sitting down with my brick of a Game Boy and a huge supply of AA batteries, I settled in to trying to catch those 151 Pokemon. And even in such basic animations and on a small screen, this really brought Pokemon alive for me. Having Pikachu following you around, especially being 10 years old, was such an awesome experience, so different from anything that I had experienced in the past. And it was also the final game to be released for the Game Boy in Europe. Even now, when I go back and play this game, 25 years after it came out, it still amazes me just how excited I get to see those basic animations. Even though I can play them in full 3D, I can play them in HD and all that stuff, there is just something so incredible about how this game created such an incredible franchise, an incredible series of games. So that's my number 2. That's Pokemon Yellow. You might be wondering how, with such incredible memories of Pokemon Yellow, why it isn't my favourite game. And that's because Gold and Silver came along and took a very good Pokemon game and just improved upon the experience of Yellow like 100%. Released in Europe in April 2001 and adding another 100 Pokemon to the original 151, not only did we get to explore a new area called Johto, but after beating the Elite Four and Team Rocket, we got to go back to Kanto and battle the original gym leaders in Kanto. So we basically had a whole new game, and then we got to go back and revisit all of our favourite gyms as well. Although it was such a small team who built the Pokemon games, Iwata, who was actually working for HAL Laboratories at the time, was able to work out a better way to compress the graphics code for Pokemon Gold and Silver, which actually allowed us to have such a bigger game on that Game Boy cartridge. So a lot of what we actually see in Gold and Silver is down to him. Some of the game's improvements were day and night cycle, we had a built-in clock, we had access to mobile phones. I'd say one frustration as a collector is that because of that internal clock within the game, I no longer have my original saves and I've had to replace my batteries in Gold and Silver multiple times. But again, as an 11-year-old, this was mind-blowing for me. I'd never experienced anything like this. I still struggle to click yes or no when it's asking me if it's daylight saving time. All of the other games, I've been able to pick which game I've actually chosen, whether it's Scarlet or Violet, etc. But for the number 1, I couldn't decide between Gold or Silver. I played them both for hundreds of hours. I still play them now. So I've just had to put Gold and Silver together for this number 1 slot. So I know that obviously there's going to be a lot of people out there who have different opinions, so put your opinions below. Let me know what is in your top 5 Pokemon, because there's a lot of games to choose from. But if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Thank you, guys.